My name is Harvey by Alex G. On this day in August 2023, Stuart is going to teach you how to play it. Standard, no, not standard tuning, drop D tuning. I just want everything to be in standard tuning. But it's in drop D. You have to tune the top string down to D. Let's learn this main part. First, the trademark Alex G intro. You just very lightly, using whatever hand you push down on the strings with, you're just going to mute all the strings ever so lightly. You just touch every string with the fingers of your hand. Then over here, you're gonna go down, 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 up, down. Do that with me, just the muted strings. 1, 2, here we go. And down, 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 up, down. And then you're going to lift your fingers up and strum up on the open strings. And then we begin the song proper from the very beginning. Middle finger, 3rd fret on the top string. Ring finger, 3rd fret, 2nd string from the top. On this chord, you're gonna strum down 8 times, you guys. You're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, full disclosure, there's an extra little sneaky thing that he does right during that little 8th strum, but we'll get to that in a minute. Right now, we're just doing 8 strums of each chord. Aim for the top 2 strings when you strum, but we're actually gonna hit the other strings just open a little bit as well. So we're pushing on the top 2, but look, here, listen. You hear how I'm like mostly hitting the top 2, but a little bit of those bottom strings open comes in. What he actually does for the most part is he does like 2 tiny little strums on the top couple strings, and then the 3rd strum, he hits more of the strings. Then he does 3 tiny little strums, and then he does another bigger strum, and then another tiny strum. So it's like tiny, tiny, big, tiny, 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 big, tiny. Does that make sense? Tiny, tiny, big, tiny, 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 big, tiny. Let's just do that on this first chord. Let's just go tiny, tiny, big, tiny, 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 big, tiny a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tiny, tiny, big, tiny, 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 big, tiny, 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 big, tiny, 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 big, tiny. It's like an 8 strum pattern. Tiny, tiny, big, tiny, 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 big, tiny. Did it, nailed it. You do that on 3. Then take those same 2 fingers and move up to 5 on the top 2 strings. Do the exact same thing. Tiny, tiny, big, tiny, 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 big, tiny. Then go all the way up to 10 on the top 2 strings. Same 2 fingers, same thing. Tiny, tiny, big, tiny, 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 big, tiny. We go back to 3, you guys. Tiny, tiny, big, tiny, 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 big, tiny. What do you think of my new bookshelf? It's fine. It looks a little pathetic when it's so empty. It's like, doesn't this guy read any books, or does he just look at dragons all day? And I have 2 books here, 3 books. Have not even read those 3 books, guys. Gotta put some books on here that I've read. In your comments, what's a book that you've read? Also, what do you think of my bookshelf? We did 3, then we did 5. Then we went up to 10, then we went back to 3. Let's practice those 4 chords. 1, 2, here we go. And tiny, tiny, big, tiny, 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 big, tiny, 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 big, tiny, 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 big, tiny. There's only like 4 more chords for the whole song, and then we'll get into a couple little details. Then you do the open strings, aim for the top 2, but you're gonna hit all of them on the big ones. Tiny, tiny, big, tiny, 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 big, tiny. Now, okay. We're gonna learn, 8 strums on the open strings. Then go to the 2nd fret on the top 2 strings. Do our same tiny, tiny, big, tiny thing. Then go back to open, tiny, tiny, big, tiny, and then go back to the 2nd fret and do the same thing. So, we're doing, for right now, we are doing the exact same strumming on each chord. Doing 3, then 5, then 10, then 3. Then we go 0, 2, 0, 2. Let's go ahead and play all of that, but let's include our little intro thing with the muted strings. And a 1, 2, intro time, here we go. Up to 10, and 3, then open, then then 2, then it just starts over, back to 3, let's go do it one more time, up to 5, getting some practice in, 10, then 3, then open, then 2, then open, then 2, then it starts over again. It does that, what do you think, 16 times? I don't know. That's the whole song. And then he just ends it with one final strum of the 3rd fret. And when he's on that 3rd fret on the top 2 strings, he's gonna go ahead and strum all the strings, you guys. He does a big strum right there. Now, I have to tell you about 2 little variations that happen. In the studio recording, the one with all the extra instruments and stuff. What? Sorry, I thought you said something. I feel like my face is very poofy. Lots of salt this weekend, guys. Way too much salt. Now, variation number 1, in the studio recording, every time he switches chords, he does this quick little down-up strum. So instead of just strumming down on each chord, he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, down, up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, down, up, 1, 2, and what it does is that little down, up kind of covers up the transition to chord. So he's sort of switching chords as he strums up. Let's do it really slowly together, just going from the 3 to the 5. What do you say? 1 and 2, and nice and slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, down, up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, down, up. Then he goes to the next chord, etc. One more little thing, especially for when you're doing this little down up thing, you don't have to lift your fingers completely off of the strings when you switch chords. Just kind of loosen up the pressure, but keep touching the strings and just glide your fingers along the string. It'll keep you on track with a little down up strum. It's gonna sound great. Are you ready for another variation, guys? When he plays it live, something he will often do when he goes to the 0 and 2, what he does is he'll play just open 7 times, then play the 1st fret on the top 2 strings once, and then go to the 2. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1st fret, 2nd fret, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and occasionally he will even do the same thing when he goes from 2 down to 0. He'll go 2, 1st fret open. So let's play that 0 to 2 part with that little 1st fret, little transitional chord in there. 1, 2, here we go. And open, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1st fret, Then here we go, okay. Woman. And then we start over. Guys, that literally is the entire song, except for the extra little bonus parts that I'm gonna show you right now. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you the little keyboard organy part that's in the recording, but when they do it live, they play it on guitar, so I can show it to you on guitar, it's allowed. 12th fret on the bottom string, you're gonna play that twice. Then play 12 on the 2nd string from the bottom. Then play 13 on the 2nd string from the bottom. I'm just going pointer, pointer, middle, then do pointer finger on 12 of the 3rd string from the bottom. Then go back to 12 on the 2nd string from the bottom. So we've got 12 on the bottom, 12 on the 2nd from the bottom, 13, 12 on the 3rd from the bottom. Then we just go right back to 12 on the 2nd string from the bottom, play that twice. And then this is the hardest little part, but it's not hard at all. With your ring finger, play 14 on the 3rd string from the top. So we had to switch a string there. Play that one twice. Then play 12 on the 3rd string from the bottom twice again. And then 12 on the 3rd string from the top twice. So I think that was 8 notes total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, it's 8 notes, guys. Let's play it together. 1 and 2, and buckle my shoes, guys. You're just gonna want to, practice that and speed it up, that kind of thing. Then there's one more part, the little... I messed it up. Part's hard on acoustic, guys. Too bad I'm allergic to electric guitar. Here's what I'm doing. Bottom string, sliding from 15 up to 17, and then sliding right back to 15. The way I like to do this is I have my ring finger on the 15th fret, and then I put my middle finger right behind it just to kind of help keep me stable on the string. Slide up to 15. Try not to have your thumb sticking out over the bottom. Try not to move your thumb around. Try to keep your thumb in one spot and just kind of pivot your hand on your thumb. Sliding from 15 up to 17, then right back to 15. Then I use my middle finger to do the exact same thing on the second string from the bottom. You're doing each of these twice, by the way. I very much forgot how to say the word twice there. Did you notice? In fact, I just kind of had a focus breakdown altogether. Then using my pointer finger on the third string from the bottom, I'm sliding from 14 up to 16 and then right back to 14. So that was just on the bottom string, 15 to 17, back to 15. Do it twice. Then middle finger, do the same thing on the second string from the bottom. Then I'm using my pointer finger, I go from 14 to 16 on the third string from the bottom. And then using middle finger again, go back to the second string from the bottom and do 15 to 17 there. So this is like, basically what you want to do is you do the, I think do that twice. That was a close one. I messed up. Then, okay. What is that song? What does this remind me of? It's like a 90s like pop rock song. What song is that? It's like a Sugar Ray song? Out of tune. It's always out of tune.